All right, welcome back, ladies and gents. Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound. We have the Pocket Change Market Report for August 16, 2025. Quick little update, non PCMR related. Things got carried away from me this week. Tomorrow, August 17th, Sunday, we will be doing the official giveaway draw for the summer promo event. If you participated on Whatnot, we will be doing that. Not only the leaderboard and the giveaway, which is a randomizer for all the prizes. We're going to be doing all that tomorrow on Sunday. So if you're watching this, just know that that is going to take place. So we are going to jump into the wonderful world of eBay within the last 24 to 48 hours. We're going to explore some of the neat finds that you guys have found out there. Mint errors, die varieties, and also other kind of strange, awesome oddities as well. We're going to talk a lot about them here today. Market is still very fluid. People are picking up some pretty neat things here recently. A lot of new stuff. We've just been seeing like a whole different variety of items, not your regular kind of rotation of coins that we've covered. So good to see some nice variety for a change, especially here in the last month or so. Quick little shout out to channel sponsor Whatnot. I am a part of one of the fastest growing live social media auction platforms today. And I sell on this platform, I say weekly. I didn't do a show this week again just because things got carried away from me. But we will be back again next week. If you haven't joined yet, we have a lot of folks that are really loving the experience. I offer up some really nice US type coins, some world coins as well. My wife's going to do a world coin show here really soon, probably in September sometime. But we also do paper money and bullion. So, if you're looking to become a huge part of that experience, now's the time to join. We got the QR code on screen, but I also have the links down below in the description box and pinned into the comment section of this video. Sign up today. You get $15 off your first item, and it's automatic too. There's nothing special you have to do to activate that. It is automatic once you sign up. All right, so thank you for listening. And on that, we are going to go ahead and kick things off here with a 1943D Steely. These are zinc-plated steel cents. They're some of the coolest coins. A lot of things to find here, a lot of varieties, mint errors, of course. This one right here, a pretty neat mint error. There's a cut die break on the reverse. On the left, wheat stock. So this all occurs when, just through general wear and tear, a piece of the die cracks, falls out. So when it strikes the coins, it's going to leave a bubbly kind of raised void in relief on that particular coin. It could show up as a cud. Cuds are generally something that starts from the rim and goes into the actual design. There's die chips, die breaks, things of that nature. A lot of cool stuff to see, and this is, again, all as a result of the work that these dies are putting through, striking many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of coins on a daily basis. There's bound to be some breakage, some cracks in the armor, so to speak, on some of those dies. This particular one right here ended up selling for $26.99 with 4 bids. So first item up for the PCMR. There's a nice little close-up of that cut die break, touching the very edge of the wheat stock there. All right, next one that we have here. We've talked about these pretty normally, I would say, over the last 6 months, because they're worth a conversation. People are bidding up on something that back in the day we had, honestly, a hard time selling for $1 to $2 a piece. These are lamination errors. This is a 1917 here. Nice early date. Now, the coin itself is pretty well worn. No really big fanfare. It is a common date, so we don't have to worry about it that much. But you can see the lamination coming across the front there, really doing a number on Lincoln's face, as you can see, and then going all the way to the rim edge there, right above the date. This is what we call a retained lamination, because nothing has really flaked off and fallen off. All of the flakes are still attached to the coin. This one right here ended up selling for $15. So, as you can tell, there is a little market for it. I mean, it's nothing just, that you could retire off of, but just realize that, if you could take a lamination this is kind of more on the minimal side of visuals, but you could take a coin like this, sell it for $15 and feel good about it the next day. Next one that we have here, and it's really cool that this person had two of them to sell as a pair. 2004A colorized $20 bills. All right, so we're all pretty familiar what these look like. And we should know them, very familiar. We pull these things out of ATMs all the time. It's the most common denominator coming out of the ATM machines. So we all know that there is supposed to be something that is missing on both of these notes respectively. And if you would guess that the green seal that's on the right side where the word 20 is in big letters, they are indeed missing. All right, so they were just left off that printing process of the third print. What is also really neat that I just noticed is that these are consecutive notes. How cool is that? Probably the first time that I've ever seen or witnessed this particular currency error on a consecutive pair. So that's pretty neat in its own right as well. That should garner a nice, healthy amount of premium. So we've seen these before in much lower condition examples. They tend to sell for about $80 to $100 raw. We've talked about a number of these over the years. This pair right here, consecutive-wise, ended up selling for $257.25. It was a quick little buy it now hit. I guess the seller really didn't see it coming the moment that they loaded this one up for sale on eBay. That it sold as quickly as you can imagine. It probably could have gone a little bit more because they are consecutive. Again, this is you're talking to someone here that has seen quite a few of these over the years, and never have I ever seen a consecutive pair of this particular error. The notes look really nice. They're nice, crispy, uncirculated examples, and that really helps its cause quite a bit. I would not feel out of place grading these one bit because it is a consecutive set, and then you would almost assuredly have to sell them together. Every time they get sold, they need to be sold as a pair, which will keep this quite unique because, again, it's something that a lot of people don't save. We're talking over 20 years ago when these things were printed. 1983 Philly Jefferson nickel. This one has another cud die break, this time on the obverse, right there atop Jefferson's head. That piece of the die had cracked and fallen off, just again due to wear and tear on those dies. You're also going to see the corresponding weakness on the reverse. So when you flip the coin over, right where the word of and the first couple letters of America will be lighter as a strike, because that area where the cut is on the front side, that's the path of least resistance. There's not going to be nearly as much pressure because there's an empty cavity in the die space of that area. So generally on the reverse in that same area, it's going to be very weakly struck. This one right here pulled in $24.95. This one I believe is a buy it now hit too. This is one of the more common placements of a cud on nickels, especially during the early 80s. So you're gonna have a better chance finding this particular cud. They're a little bit more on the common side. More paper money, 1988 dollar bill. Okay, this one has a really neat fold over error on it. You can see there on the right side that side of the sheet had folded over and then printed over as well. You're going to see this here momentarily on the reverse. It's a note with issues. Obviously, this one had seen a fair amount of circulation wear. Unfortunately, it has a nice sized tear on the bottom margin right there, right under Washington's portrait. All right, so here's I guess, the money shot that I love showing off on things like this. So you can see there on the left side that edge was folded over and imprinted. What's cool is that this involves one whole edge of the note, as opposed to a corner, which is normally what we see on foldovers. So this one right here ended up selling for $166.50 with a pair of bids. So yeah, there's some collectors out there that really love this one. Again, in spite of the tear at the bottom. Another great one here too. If you guys are not looking out for these, I'm sorry. When these were announced a few years ago as a legit paper money error, people were starting to find them, but they've kind of cooled down here in the last, I'd say, 12 months, because this particular error was only found on 2017 A's, and I think to a lesser extent, some were found on 2013 series dollar bills as well. This is what they call an Inkwell contamination error. So when you look at both serial numbers on this note, you're going to notice that one is almost jet black, while the other set of serial number is a nice vivid green, the way it's supposed to be. But in this particular case, the left side serial number was contaminated with a little bit of black ink that was intended for the black seal. So that third printing process and everything going on, those little inkwells, they had an inkwell for green for this specific thing. They had another inkwell for black for this specific thing. So there was a multitude of different inkwells that make up the third printing process, which is, the seals and serial number. So at any given time, there could be some leakage of that black inkwell into the green because of how close they are in proximity to each other. So that'll make, obviously, the green ink a whole lot darker, almost black in this particular case. Now, this note right here is pretty well circulated. It's got also a fair amount of staining that you can see, especially on the front of the note. So it's far from perfect, but a great example nonetheless. This one right here sold for $55.55, which is a really cool note. And, if you guys are out there hunting through currency, always keep this one on the back of your mind because they are quite valuable, especially when the condition is much nicer. All right, not the greatest looking piece, but this is an 1870 shield nickel. This one is actually a beautiful doubled die obverse. And the best place where you can see this doubling is going to be at the shield at the very top where you have that little circle. So you see how the circle is doubled, and also that kind of like iron cross design at the top right above the circle. You can see that even that's doubled. So on much nicer condition examples, you can see the leaves are doubled. The top lines of the shield are also exhibiting some pretty nice doubling. This is just overall a really neat variety. I believe this is the FS 101, if memory serves me correct, and it's not particularly an easy one to find either. And 1870 is a little bit tougher date for the Shield Nickel series. So even though we have all of these, this damage, the scrapes, the scratches, the digs, and all that stuff on here, this one ended up selling for $42.99. And, I think it has more to do with the doubling on this particular coin than it does actual condition, which really props it up and made it worth at least $40. So we'll give this one a little extra kudos for that. Here's a great one. Always look out for this one. Who knows how many more of these can exist out there, but we're all familiar with the wide AM dates of Lincoln cents. 98, 99, 2000, 99 being the rarest of the three by a large margin. This is a rather just okay example of a wide AM 99. Sometimes it's the best that you're going to find. I know of people that have, found maybe just one of these over so many years and decades. So, they are out there. They're not as easily, findable or searchable these days. Just due to circulation attrition, I guess is what you could say. But I mean, if you're able to find them, flip it around, make sure that gap between an A and M in America is nice and wide and strong that you see there. And then you have the money coin. So you guys, observed the condition of this one. It's not the greatest, but heck, it still managed to pull in $107, which is remarkable for a coin of this condition. We're not seeing nearly as many 99 wide AMs on eBay as we used to. We used to see them quite more frequently about 10 years ago, and then they have fallen off a cliff. And that probably explains why the price on the most recent examples have been quite strong. In case you're wondering, strike-throughs on Buffalo Nickels don't exist that often. All right, so Bubba Sully's, who's a staple on eBay for coin sales over the last 2.5 decades, like he has been selling on the platform since eBay became a thing, I guess. He just continues to drill home some pretty neat pieces. 1934, I believe, is what the date of this one is. You can barely see it because that's the strike through. You can see the strike through right here behind the neck, and then on the date, so there was probably some grease on that part of the die that obscured some of the strike. And you can even look how weakly struck the feather and the hair is right above the braid is too. So there was definitely some grease on there. You caught a glimpse of the next coin. Sorry about that. This one right here sold for $34.75 with 15 bids. So you guys already saw it. I spoiled it for you. This one right here is a 1917. And you're able to see the last digit of the date. And I think the top of the one on this one. More strike through. This one isn't nearly as crazy as the previous example. This one obscuring more of the date, but overall the rest of the coin is very well struck. So this particular one, guys, ended up selling for $42.75 with 14 bids. What is also neat, and it's probably more of a secondary afterthought, is that this one has a very light lamination on the front there with the Indian. You can see it right there around like the 10 o'clock position on the coin, and where the rim kind of dips a little bit in that area, and you can see just a little streak of lamination going due south from there, rim to rim. So that's also pretty interesting, but it was never brought up in this particular case because the strike through on the date was more of the focal point of this particular coin. What we have here, man, this is a tough one. 2005, the California State Quarter. We did that video on statehood quarters here recently, just talking about a few notable pieces that are still relevant. We didn't talk about mint errors in that one, and usually we reserve that for the PCMR. So we have a nice broad struck California statehood quarter. Not one that comes across too often. I could say that this one maybe a couple times a year. This one right here sold for $46.74, whereas some of the more common states sell for about $20. So that would be your West Virginias of the world, Virginia, New York, and a few others. So some of the more earlier dates from like 99 to 2002. You see more of those with the broad struck or off-center struck errors on them than you do some of the more later dates. This is such a huge cut die break here on this 1985 Lincoln Memorial set. The larger they are, the more that they're worth, And this one right here is actually in pretty decent shape. It's held well together over the years, considering that it is a copper-plated zinc. Which they're all, as far as durability is quite trash. These things are not meant to last long time because this composition, I don't know, it withers away if you're not careful. But anyways, this one holding up really well, selling for $206.90. So this is one that I've seen before. I don't recall if it's sold for this kind of money. I think some that are this big I've seen for like 100 to 150 bucks. But I haven't seen like a huge one of this caliber in quite a while. So that probably explains this pretty big sale here over the weekend. Neat one here. If you're looking for some fireworks, man, look no further than silver certificates. You can find just about anything crazy, from fancy serial numbers to misaligned prints and things of that nature. How about this one here with a mismatched serial number? So the bottom left serial number starts with 5544. The top right serial number is 5444. So you can see that second number is different on this one. It's a GA block. Okay, that's the same. There's no mismatch there. This one right here, nobody even cared to look, nor were they even remotely interested at this thing was just $1 to a lot of people. I bought that next cup of coffee with a Danish, it's just, that's the purpose it served back 70 years ago. So today, this one ended up selling for $403.80. Man, what a cool note. And, the price tag, again, I'm not flinching one bit. I've owned a few of these mismatched serial number notes, and they're quite expensive. They're some of the most desirable paper money errors out there. 1994p Roosevelt dime. Dimes getting, again, all sorts of love with the redesign upcoming for the semi-quincentennial year of 2026. This one struck off center outside of the collar by about 30-35%. Awesome. $47.55, 24 bids. Expected a very strong price on these. 1988 $1 bill. Now this one is what we call a misalignment. The base second print with all the black and George Washington's portrait was misaligned print on the sheet. And this one right here, you can see the serial numbers. They're all kind of like shifted to the right. The top right serial number is overlapping the base design, which is something that you don't want to see, and it was never intended for that. The green seal shifted all the way to the right at some degree. This one has staining. Far from the perfect note. There's a reverse there, showing some of those hard folds, more staining. Far from perfect, I tell you, but, there's, what's that good old saying? There's an ass for every seat. There's a note or a coin for every collector out there. $62.99, 25 bids. So there was a lot of asses for this particular dollar bill. And, this one right here is ungraded, which is fine. That's the name of the game. If you don't have to grade any of these errors or varieties, that's perfectly fine. That's the way it's intended to be. They sell for themselves, and they usually command the full brunt of the market, even as a raw piece. There's another, from the seller sourced close-up image of the serial numbers, just showing you the difference there. And we talked about these here the last, I'd say, 1 to 2 weeks. Here's another Tuskegee Airmen 2021 Philly, the last year of this National Park design, with the strike through on the building on the reverse. And you can see little bits and streaks of that strike through right under the plane wing there going into the field. But yeah, again, placement was everything. These things used to be like the talk of the town. They were selling for $200, $300, $400 back 4 years ago. Unfortunately, that price never carried on, here in 2025. But they are still being collected. This one right here is selling for $32.80. And as you can tell, this one has been around a few cash registers over the years. Just a neat one visually. Not one that I would say you could find in a roll of pennies. A 1973D Lincoln Memorial cent, which is double struck. The secondary strike is 75% off center. And this one selling for $148.52. Really neat. I just sold one of these on Whatnot about 2 weeks ago. 1960 D over D Repunched mint mark. This is a cool one here. And it's one that's found on the large date variant of this coin. There's a small date, there's a large date. The large date is the most common date type of this one. But check this close up here. That secondary Denver mint mark is punched west of the primary, and boy, is it strong. This is a type that you can see, if the coin is in decent shape, you can see this with the naked eye, which makes it even cooler. It kind of like ratchets up the coolness effect by, from like a 5 to maybe an 8 or a 9. So this one right here, a very strong showing here, $33.99 in this condition. As you can tell, just from the close-up, it's got a few carbon spots, a little bit of staining, a little bit of circulation wear. The one that I had was pretty similar in grade. It was like an AU, and it sold for about as much as what this one did. So a very consistent market for the FS502. Probably a top 5 strongest repunch mint mark, bar none, through all of the different series and denominations in U.S. coinage. This is actually, I know it's hard to see because of the crazy white balance issue here. This is a 1997 Philly Roosevelt dime, large centered broad strike, another tremendous mint error on a Roosevelt dime, and it's in such a beautiful condition. This one right here sold for $48.80. Again, a very nice sale here. The sales and all that for these particular errors on Roosevelt dimes a year ago, before the announcement of the redesign of this coin, they were mustering maybe half this price, or maybe a little bit less than that. And we also talked about one of these on our last PCMR. Here's another one, 1970D Washington Quarter. Check out how weakly struck this one is. It's because this one was struck on dime thickness stock. So the planchet was as thin as a dime, which is quite a bit thinner than a standard Washington Quarter thickness stock. And yes, these will weigh less. This particular one actually, on the scale, weighing in at 4.2 grams. I got that right? Yeah, 4.2 grams, not ounces. We're not talking silver here. But, coins about like AU condition, very nice, And these can be found just in good old regular pocket change. Look out for the weakness on the strike, and you're there. The cool part about this coin to help you audit yourself is stack a bunch of other quarters next to it. You'll see how much skinnier this one is in comparison. So this one right here, achieving a sale of $79.50 is really good. Not too bad. I like it. This Franklin half dollar has some stories to tell. It's damaged. I can tell you that if you look at the front of the coin, all the way to the left, right where like 9 o'clock is on that rim, you can see this one has had a little bit of a rough time. Probably, I don't know, an accounting machine, not really sure. I mean, there's got to be a reason, right? There's got to be a reason also that we look through our constitutional 90% bulk silver. There's got to be a reason. And there is, to look for errors and varieties. We've talked about this before. So this one right here actually is the clamshell lamination. But you wouldn't know it if you didn't look at the edge. This one hasn't been pried apart or anything like that. You can see that crack right on the edge. You could literally pry that up and fold it up if you wanted to. But don't do that. That is considered post-mint damage if you did. So this one right here is selling for $64.55. And what's the usual rate for with today's silver for a 50-cent piece? With 90% silver, what, $15, somewhere around there? So this one's sold for 4 times that. So, if you find it, sell it, buy more silver. You could buy 2 ounces or 2 silver eagles, maybe. I don't know. It could be close. But this is a neat one here. And oftentimes these are overlooked. So how often are you going to see a raw example of this bad boy? 1972 Lincoln Memorial Cent FS101 doubled die obverse. There was, in the course of a few minutes, 3 of these that sold, and I think they were all from different sellers. You know, raw examples like AU Condition, they're still $250, $300 all day long. You know, this is one of the strongest, most desirable varieties in the series, you know. And here we go. We have one here. I mean, look at the doubling on the date, Liberty, the motto, In God We Trust. You'll know what to look for. This thing will slap you silly. It's that strong. So this one here sold for $320.80. 13 bids, and there doesn't look like there's a lot of wear on this one. This one could have been the steal of the day for all I know. Here's another cud die break. I don't know what the date is because the cud is right on the date. However, I can tell you this one was produced at the Denver Mint, which is cool because we don't normally see errors of this magnitude coming from that facility, as their quality control has been pretty good over like 50, 60 years. So, chalk this one up for the good guys. That nice die break right over the date and attaching to the rim, making it a cud. Pretty cool. This one selling for $46.80. All right, can't ask for more than that. And the final one, my goodness, never have I ever seen something like this before. It looks to be a strike through. The planchet is definitely defective. It's got, you know, some stuff happening by the date. That crack, which is probably a cracked planchet or a fissure or a ragged clip. General weakness all the way around. I mean, we just looked at that 1970D Washington quarter, and it exhibits the same weak strike on both sides. So I'm willing to bet that this isn't so much a coin that was struck on dime thickness stock silver, although that 52D or whatever it was we talked about like 2 weeks ago, I think that one is. I think this one is just an underweight, thinner planchet. And the reason why I'm leaning more toward that is because it's also got that raggedy looking clip thing going on by the date. You can see it on the reverse even by America. I mean, shoot, there's a lot of things going on here. So, I mean, that's speculatively, that's what I'm thinking is what's going on here. And then you have like laminations and all sorts of... This thing is like multifaceted on every level, and it will give you some time to think about what all is wrong with it from a mint error perspective. And then eventually you're gonna, you know, the feeling of appreciation will set in, because it's so incredibly gnarly, and the fact that it has an American flag in the background is just like patriotic to what we have going on here. You know, the bald eagle on the reverse. You know, it's like seeing better days because of all this stuff happening on the coin. Man, this thing has a lot of tales to tell. But yeah, pretty cool. Nothing that I've personally have ever witnessed or seen over the many years of cherry picking, you know, scrappy constitutional silver bins and all sorts of other stuff. And it came from the San Francisco Mint out of all facilities. Surprisingly, I put as I'm not going to say it. Yeah, I'm just not going to say it. Yeah, so it sold for $39.99, and that is worth every bit of that price tag. As kind of, it's a mint error. Obviously, it's a number of mint errors. But overall, it's an oddity. You know, it's one of the oddest oddity errors that I have ever seen. And it's cool to really see this one here. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this edition of the PCMR. Again, just to stress and let you guys aware, information in this video is for educational use only, not financial advice. Please collect and or grade your coins responsibly. Thank you guys again for tuning in. It was a lot of fun, a lot of cool, really neat things popping out there. Again, these are all things that you can find either going through change, hunting through your scrap silver like we had talked about, and even maybe cherry picking your local coin show or coin shop, because, you know, dealers, they don't care about some of this stuff. sometimes. So this is where you can come in and kind of make a difference for yourself and for the collecting community. I wish you guys the best in all of your hunting endeavors, and I hope to see you on the next coin video real soon. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys soon.